I wanted to ask you about climate change. Secretary Perry, at your confirmation hearing, you acknowledged that the climate is changing. But on Monday, you were asked on CNBC, do you believe CO2 is the primary control knob for the temperature of the Earth and for climate? And you answered no. So if the climate is changing, and if you disagree that CO2 is the primary driver, what do you think is driving the change?
Yes, sir. And I'll finish the rest of that interview for the public that may have not gotten as much coverage as me saying that I did not think that CO2 was the primary knob that changes it. I don't. I think there are some other naturally occurring events, the warming and the cooling of our ocean waters, and some other activities that occur. I also said in the next breath that man's impact does in fact have an impact on the climate, and the question is, what is going to be the economic impact for this country? And I referred yesterday to in a hearing in front of the Senate Appropriations, that even an individual as celebrated from the standpoint of his capabilities, the Undersecretary of Energy under the previous administration, Stephen Coons, he said that the science isn't settled yet. And I asked the committee, and I'll ask you, don't you think it's okay to have this conversation about the science of climate change? And why don't we have a red team approach and sit down, get the politicians out of the room and let the scientists and listen to what they have to say about it. I'm pretty comfortable that what's wrong with being a skeptic, I think, is about something that we're talking about that's going to have a massive impact on the American economy.
Well, you said this thing about, you told Senator Coons that we need a red team, blue team exercise to establish climate change. It's my understanding that in a red team, blue team exercise, the blue team makes an argument, then the red team tries to knock it down. And the blue team then refines their argument, and they go back and forth until consensus is reached. But that's exactly how science works, including climate science. Researchers collect data and make arguments. Peer reviewers poke holes in the argument. The researchers respond. It goes back and forth until consensus is reached. Every peer-reviewed climate study goes through that red team, blue team treatment, and then thousands of studies are gathered into reports, and those reports themselves go through rigorous red team, blue team, and that's the scientific process. And you're not the first to do red team, blue team. The Koch brothers hired a red team of skeptics in 2012 in an effort to cast doubt on mainstream science. It was called the BEST Project, and much to the chagrin of their funders, the skeptical scientists found that mainstream climate science is correct. To quote the scientific director of BEST, Dr. Richard Muller, "Call me a converted skeptic." This is in 2013 or 14. Last year, following an intensive research effort involving a dozen scientists, I concluded that global warming was real and that the prior estimates of the rate of warming were correct. And I'm now going to step further. Humans are entirely the cause. Now, if you say that this is caused by the warming of the oceans, the reason the oceans are warming is because water absorb the heat. That's why sea level is rising, because when the water heats, it expands, and also because of the melting of the ice caps. There's no peer-reviewed study that doesn't say this is happening. And the biggest proponent of this is our military. And they, in their quadrennial review, say this is the biggest threat to our world. The time for red team, I'm sorry, that's what we do every day. That's what scientists do every day. And 100% of peer-reviewed scientists have a consensus, and that is that this is happening.